Team, we're here to talk about the Trijicon RMR, that's the Ruggedized Miniature Reflex optic. This is the RMR 09 model, and Tactical Solutions, the New Zealand distributor for Trijicon, have asked me to take this thing for a spin, and that's what I've been doing. I've been putting it through its paces for a little while now, and they've asked me to provide a review and a little bit of a breakdown of some of its features. Now, the RMR 09 model has a 1 MOA red dot, and this can be mounted on a bunch of different applications. And so even though I'm an amateur shooter at best, I shoot maybe about 300 to 1,000 rounds per week on average. I've put about 5,000 rounds through this RMR 09, both as a pistol mounted primary optic, as well as running it as a secondary on a Mark 18 rifle. Now, this is a Glock 19 that it's mounted on at the moment. This has an MOS slide to it. Before I move this around, I'll just verify that we are operating safe. No mag inserted. Now, on the Glock 19, you have a couple of options. You can either have it similar as a Glock 17, that you can get a MOS slide, so there's already a cutout for this to mount perfectly into it, and the RMR does come with the option to be mounted on an adapter plate that slides into the back here if you don't have a slide with ready-made cuts in the slide for the mounting of an optic. Now, Glock 17s are the usual go-to duty pistol that you'll find for most law enforcement outfits in the Western Hemisphere, and New Zealand is no different. They generally run the Glock 17 model. Glock 19, like this, is a bit more of a compact that you'll see run as a secondary sidearm for maybe a military application, tactical application. So this might be a little bit closer to what you see, and this is what they use. So this particular one has had a little bit of custom work done to it. Otherwise, it is pretty much stock standard MOS. I've just had the guys at ArmorWorks put a couple of slide cuts in there if you're wondering where all this came from. And they also did the Cerakote coloring, burnt bronze. So I did consider going a tactical pink, but you know, it's got to look cool, right? Part of it is about looking cool. So that's what I've done to this. But otherwise, this is just a stock Glock that you can get out of the box, and this RMR optic completely changes the dynamics of how you would run it. And why would you run an optic on top of a gun in the first place? Well, the simple answer is speed. You're looking for a faster target acquisition, to be able to get up on the gun, get up on target a whole lot quicker, and then shoot that paper or shoot that steel, or apply it to the bad guy, whatever it is that your mission, your objective is. You can do it faster with a red dot. And if you don't take my word for it, just compare to people shooting IPSC production versus production optics division. The production optics guys are faster. People that shoot open guns in competition, one of the main modifications that they have over a standard production gun is they'll be running an optic like a red dot like this. Now, the Trijicon RMR is the gold standard, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. So how red dots work, first thing you need to understand if you're new to it is that, we verified this is empty. When you look down the barrel of it, you're going to find that there's this little red floating dot there. Okay, and I've turned that up bright enough so you can see that easily there. Now, instead of focusing on your front sight when you line up on target, front sight and rear sight, and front sight is your focus, instead you keep both eyes open and you just put the dot over your target. So obviously your dominant eye is going to take control of that. With both eyes open, you can focus on what the target is, as well as your peripheral, and your spatial awareness improves, but you can get right up on target really quickly. All you do is put on the dot, put the dot on target, and then squirt, and away you go. So the thing to mention here also is that you would have noticed that you could still see this front sight through the optic. Now, I have not changed out these front sights, but it would be important to note right now that if you are going to keep your iron sights, you're going to want to swap your iron sights out for a suppressor height iron sight. Now, Trijicon also make these, and they are available. Talk to Tactical Solutions, they'll hook you up. If you're running a suppressor, the can would elevate the height there, so a suppressor height iron sight would bring these sights up. Now, these iron sights are now fairly redundant. You can't use them through an optic, but the suppressor height sight, you would be able to lift them up a little bit higher, and so you'd be able to run a lower third co-witness through the optic. Now, in the unlikely event that the optic was to go down on you and you still need to be able to target, you're going to need that backup iron sight there. So you tactical guys, that's definitely something for you to take note of and apply. But for the rest of us civilian shooters or people that are just shooting on the range and maybe shooting in competition, we don't really need these irons, so we can just take them out altogether. They can just be tapped out from the back there, or pop out the front sight from underneath the slide. You'll need a specialist tool for that, and Glock has those tools available. Now, the adapter plate that I spoke of previously, if you don't have an MOS slide and you have a regular slide for your Glock 17, Glock 19, your duty pistol, you'll already have removed this rear sight, because the adapter will be sitting in there, and it'll lift this RMR ever so slightly, a couple of mil above the slide itself. It'll all be sealed and nice and tight, but it'll be a little bit higher. Your front sight will definitely be dormant there, and so yeah, take that thing out. It'll leave a little hole in the top of the slide, but that's okay, that's fine. Otherwise, at least see the standard white dot there, at least get a black marker and black that out, so that you don't confuse yourself or slow yourself down when you're trying to come up on target with your red dot, and that doesn't distract you. So that aside, the RMR's advantages, well, it's a ruggedized miniature reflex sight. So reflex, you come up on sight super quick. It's ruggedized in the sense that it can handle a heck of a lot of abuse. Now the high-tech stuff that goes on in here, whatever that magic voodoo is that Trijicon have pulled off, has made this thing the benchmark in its class. It's ruggedized to the point where I have dropped this. I have trained in all sorts of weather conditions, and the tactical guys and the guys that are downrange out of deployment that run these things, they know how much abuse these things can take. You can single arm rack it, so if you need to rack it off your clothes, and you can do so very quickly. You can bang it, it can take thousands of rounds of impact, and it will still hold zero. Not the same thing for you airsofters that are importing replicas of that from Wish. If that's you, don't do that. Everybody knows you got a fake Rolex on. Nobody wants a fake Rolex, so get the real thing. Now, the other thing that to speak of here is that there is a rain hood, and that's important because if you do have a red dot and the rain water does get in there, it can confuse the visual inside there. People have complained of being able to see more than one dot. Which dot should they aim for when they see that blur inside of a red dot? Now, the rain hood will help with that, but it also has recessed gullies and a port on either side of the optic for the water to get out, so you can keep that thing clear and you can stay up on the gun. Now, it has a slight blue hue to the glass as well. You'll notice that there's a little bit of a blue tinge there. Now that is to help with some light conditions, to make sure that you can still see that dot nice and clear. But the beauty is you can also turn that dot up or down with multiple brightness settings. And it's as simple as pressing plus for more, minus for less from one side or the other. Really simple to use to make those adjustments. There is a simple elevation and windage adjustment on the top and on the side of the RMR, and all you need is a brass casing off of a 9mm round that will click that through, and you get really positive clicks. 1 MOA per click. Really simple to use. Now, if I did have a critique, it would be that the battery is mounted underneath the optic. So even though it has an impressive battery life, when it comes time to having to swap out the battery, you have to take the whole thing off of your slide, swap the battery out and put it back on there. That's a bit of a hassle, but the biggest hassle is really having to re-zero your gun whenever you do that. Now, the battery claimed life is thousands and thousands of hours, so theoretically you could just leave this thing on. You don't even need to turn it off. You can leave it on inside your safe or inside the gun safe in the back of the vehicle for your duty guys, and it will be ready to go when you get there. Now, competitors in the marketplace, you are going to see other optics out there on the market for different reasons, different purposes. The closest competitors are Loophole Delta Point Pro, which is also a good optic. It is considerably higher and rounder than the RMR. It doesn't look that much so on paper, but when you get them both side by side, you can see that there is a little bit more span and width to the actual glass window. Some people like that because it's going to give them a larger field of view to be able to get onto the dot. And that is an advantage that you'll see in Trigicon's new brother optic, the Trijicon SRO, which is available in New Zealand from Tactical Solutions also. That's the one you might want to go to if you're competing in like a production optics type of shooting event. But as far as tactical application goes, something small like this has a lower profile. It's going to be easier for you to be able to manipulate it around things. It's going to be much more compact and simple to use. But what it also allows is that red dot is going to be so much closer to the bore axis. So the height of a bore is significantly lower than if you had a bigger window with a higher dot. So that's going to be a whole lot easier for you to be able to not only keep accuracy and maintain accuracy, but adapt to using an optics gun. So when you switch over to running these on your gun, it'll take you a little bit of getting used to, but I promise you very, very quickly you'll start firing off your shots accurately and a whole lot faster as well. So that's it. In closing, the RMO9 model Trijicon RMR available from Tactical Solutions here in New Zealand. It is functionally the best piece of kit out there. It's available now. It mounts on pretty much anything that you can fire a bullet out of, and it looks cool. And let's be honest, if you can't shoot well and shoot fast, at least you can look cool doing it, and looking cool is important.